While sometimes changes can be bad or hard to cope with, there are actually a couple of them, especially the cruise-related ones, that in some cases you may even like them.
Now, 11 new rules are hitting the cruise industry in 2026, and they're going to fundamentally change how you cruise with Norwegian, Carnival, Royal Caribbean, or Princess. Most passengers have absolutely no idea what's coming their way. We're talking about mandatory hotel stays, drink packages that suddenly stop working on private islands, and a whole web of new restrictions that'll hit your wallet hard while taking away freedoms you've enjoyed for decades.
But there is a bit of an update. So the TSA, of course, has the rule that everybody has to have real ID to travel domestically. Now, this can mean that you get the official real ID, but this can also mean real ID compliant identification. So this is passports, like a lot of people have.
The year 2026 marks what Cruise Lines International Association experts call a watershed moment for cruising. Sure, major operators under Carnival Corporation and Royal Caribbean Group keep launching bigger ships with flashier amenities, but behind the scenes, they're quietly rolling out new policies, taxes, and restrictions that reshape every aspect of your cruise experience.
If you are going to the UK, now the UK ETA system is not a visa, but it is a travel authorization program. Now, if you are cruising out of the UK or cruising to the UK or flying to the UK,
some changes come from governments looking to cash in on tourism revenue. Others come straight from the cruise lines themselves, using environmental concerns and operational efficiency as cover for cost-cutting measures that reduce your value while boosting their profits. Let's start with the most immediate impact you'll feel, and that's the money leaving your wallet before you even step foot on the ship. Hawaii just implemented an 11% lodging tax that applies to cruise cabins effective July 1st, 2026. If you're sailing on Norwegian's Pride of America from home ports like Port of Miami or Port Canaveral,
aren't the ones deciding every stop anymore, as cities begin to push back more and more. Beginning in 2026, Amsterdam is capping ocean cruise visits at around 100 per year and limiting ships to one at a time.
You're already paying roughly $200 per person in port fees and taxes. This new tax pushes that figure to an estimated $350 per person. For a family of 4 on a 7-day Hawaii cruise, that's an extra $600 in taxes alone, but Hawaii's tax increase looks modest compared to what's happening in Mexico. The country rolled out a stepped cruise passenger fee that climbs aggressively over the next few years, hitting popular destinations like Cozumel. It started at $5 per passenger in July 2025, jumps to $10 in August 2026, then $15 in July 2027, and finally reaches $21 in August 2028. Every single Mexican port visit on your cruise triggers this fee. Europe's jumping on the tax bandwagon too. Greece maintains its €20 summer and €4 winter cruise ship levy. Amsterdam's daily tax jumps to 11 to 14 euros. Barcelona, with its national VAT increase in 2026, hits cruise passengers with a total effective tax burden of approximately 33.5%, plus an additional €14.50 daily tax specifically for cruise passengers. The U.S. Virgin Islands tacked on another $3 per passenger fee. These aren't small adjustments to existing fees. Industry analysts estimate that port taxes and fees across popular cruise destinations have increased by an average of 40 to 60% over the past 2 years, with 2026 representing the steepest single-year increase in cruise taxation history. The European Union's emissions trading system drives another wave of hidden costs, building on International Maritime Organization environmental frameworks. In 2026, the EU ETS reaches full compliance, now requiring cruise lines to submit allowances for 100% of their CO2 emissions for the first time. What's more significant is that methane and nitrous oxide emissions get included in the carbon pricing system for the first time. Cruise industry groups describe the 2024 impact as manageable, but they acknowledge that exposure will grow substantially as coverage expands and allowance prices rise through 2026. While cruise lines aren't directly passing these costs to passengers as line items, the EU ETS expenses are being quietly baked into cruise fares for European itineraries. The 2024 EU ETS system generated €38.8 billion in revenue. With expanded coverage and higher allowance prices, 2026 costs could exceed 50 billion euros, much of which will ultimately filter down to cruise passengers through higher base fares. Now let's talk about what happens once you're actually on the ship, because this is where the changes get really personal. Norwegian Cruise Line revolutionized nickel and dimming by charging $5 for every extra entree after the first two in the main dining room. The cruise line frames this as an environmental initiative to reduce food waste, but passengers aren't buying the explanation. One Reddit user summed up the sentiment perfectly. It was supposed to be inclusive, not exclusive. Carnival follows a similar policy, charging $5 for a third meal, while MSC Cruises adopted Norwegian's exact structure. Royal Caribbean International and Princess Cruises take it further, charging around $20 for an extra lobster tail. This represents a fundamental shift in cruise dining philosophy. For decades, the ability to order multiple entrees was a hallmark of cruise abundance. Now that freedom comes with a price tag that adds up quickly for families or hearty eaters. Room service, once a standard cruise amenity, is being systematically dismantled across the industry. Norwegian Cruise Line revised its room service policy so guests can now order only one hot item and one cold item per person for breakfast delivery, with a maximum of 2 items per person from the all-day room service menu. Delivery fees remain at $4.95 for breakfast and $9.95 for the all-day menu. Cunard Line completely eliminated 24-hour complimentary room service. You can only order breakfast until 10 a.m., and after that, you'll pay a service fee for anything delivered to your cabin. This isn't about operational efficiency or environmental concerns. It's about driving passengers to onboard restaurants and bars where they'll spend more money. The beverage package restrictions represent perhaps the most cynical development in modern cruising. Norwegian Cruise Line announced that starting March 1st, 2026, onboard beverage packages will no longer work on Great Stirrup Cay, their private island. Think about that for a moment. You've paid over $200 for an all-inclusive beverage package, but once you step onto the cruise line's own private island, that package becomes worthless. This isn't isolated to Norwegian. See, Princess Cruises passengers visiting Celebration Key instead of Princess Cay's will discover their Princess Plus or Princess Premier drink packages don't work either. Celebrity Cruises, under the Royal Caribbean Group umbrella, has similar restrictions. The cruise lines implemented this change quietly, without fanfare or advance notice to passengers who had already booked and paid for beverage packages. One passenger captured the absurdity perfectly, saying they'll fill their Stanley Cups before disembarking. Another posted online, "Absolute rubbish, and I'm done with NCL." The cruise lines are essentially forcing passengers to pay twice for beverages, once for the package that doesn't work where they actually want to drink, and again for individual drinks on the private islands. The Carnival tightened beverage package restrictions in other ways, increasing the waiting time between drinks from 5 minutes to 10 minutes and eliminating double shots entirely. They've also increased service charges on beverage packages from 18% to 20%. Virgin Voyages, previously known for bundling service charges into fares, now shows them as a separate line item. You can prepay at $20 per person per night or settle on board at $22 per person per night. The loyalty program overhauls represent another significant value reduction for frequent cruisers. Carnival Corporation is replacing its VIP Club with Carnival Rewards in June 2026, and the changes are substantial. Unlike the lifetime status afforded under VIP Club, status with Carnival Rewards resets every 2 years. But similar to airline loyalty programs, if you don't requalify within that 2-year period, you'll be dropped to whatever tier your recent cruise activity supports. Carnival President Christine Duffy explained the reasoning. The rapid growth of our company, the popularity of cruising, and our growing customer base have combined to erode the recognition and rewards of the current VIP offering. In just the last 3 years, we have doubled the number of platinum guests and quadrupled the number of diamond guests. Translation: too many people achieved high-tier status, so they're making it harder to maintain. This affects passengers who may have spent decades building up their status only to see it reset based on recent activity rather than lifetime loyalty. Holland America Line, another major operator, is implementing similar changes across their loyalty structure. Travel documentation is becoming significantly more complex for American cruise passengers visiting Europe. The European Union's entry/exit system became fully operational in April 2026, requiring all travelers to provide biometric data, fingerprints, and photos at border crossings. This adds 5 to 10 minutes to each border crossing on your first visit under the new system. What's more important is the European Travel Information and Authorization System, known as ETIAS, which launches toward the end of 2026. Americans will need to apply online before traveling to most European countries, pay a €20 fee, and receive authorization that's valid for 3 years. The application process takes about 10 minutes. But here's the catch. 85% of cruise passengers remain unaware of this requirement because they assume the ship handles everything. Unlike cruise ship documentation, ETIAS is entirely the passenger's responsibility. Miss this step, and you won't be boarding your cruise departing from major ports like Galveston or Port of Miami. The cruise lines have no obligation to refund your fare if you fail to obtain proper documentation. Norwegian Cruise Line implemented a mandatory early arrival requirement that's causing significant passenger pushback. Under the new NCL Air policy, passengers who book flights through the cruise line must schedule their arrival at the departure port at least 1 day before embarkation. This rule took effect for new bookings made on or after January 26, 2026. The requirement means passengers must spend at least 1 night in a hotel at their own expense. Norwegian frames this as reducing the number of guests who miss cruises due to flight delays, but passengers see it as the cruise line shifting responsibility and costs to customers. You're now paying for an extra hotel night whether you want it or not. The trend extends beyond NCL. Princess Cruises made non-refundable deposits the default booking option, and other cruise lines are following suit. You'll pay slightly less upfront, but lose every cent if plans change. Refundable deposits are becoming premium options with higher initial costs. Some of the most surprising changes involve items and activities that were previously unrestricted. Mexico banned the import, sale, and marketing of vapes and e-cigarettes as of January 17, 2026. Now, bringing a vape ashore during a Mexican port stop like Cozumel, even for personal use, could be considered illegal importation. Passengers have been arrested and detained for violations they didn't know existed. Portable Bluetooth speakers are now banned on Carnival Cruise Line due to noise concerns. The tech restrictions extend to mini Starlink devices and personal Wi-Fi routers, which simply don't function on board modern cruise ships. Any workarounds passengers use to improve internet connectivity are now completely ineffective. Wine packing has become a minefield. Make sure you pack wine in carry-on luggage, not checked bags. Passengers are reporting that wine in checked luggage gets confiscated and isn't returned even when it complies with cruise line policies. The issue appears to be airport security protocols that vary by location and aren't well communicated to travelers. Carnival is also cracking down on social media rule violations. If passengers post about sneaking alcohol on board or violating other policies, the cruise line monitors these posts and enforces consequences including lifetime bans or removal from the cruise. The days of bragging about rule breaking on Facebook or Instagram are over. Environmental regulations in Norway have created new restrictions that significantly limit cruise options following International Maritime Organization guidelines. Ships carrying more than 200 passengers are no longer allowed in protected areas of Svalbard. Landings are restricted to 43 designated sites with only small groups allowed ashore. Wildlife viewing now requires maintaining specific distances, 980 to 1,640 feet from polar bears and 490 feet from walruses. Norway also mandated that emissions from cruise ships in World Heritage fjords must reach 0 by 2026. This effectively eliminates certain cruise itineraries or forces cruise lines to use newer, more expensive ships with advanced environmental systems. Port restrictions are expanding globally as destinations try to manage over-tourism. Venice, Cannes, and Barcelona now impose passenger limits or restrict ship sizes. Some ports only allow ships below certain passenger counts, effectively eliminating megaships from popular itineraries. The cumulative impact of these changes represents the end of cruising as a value proposition for many travelers. What was once an all-inclusive vacation experience is becoming increasingly segmented, with charges for services that were previously included and restrictions on activities that were once unlimited. Virgin Voyages. CEO Nirmal. Saverimutu acknowledged the industry shift. Travelers expect clarity and choice from airlines and hotels, and Virgin Voyages is the first to bring that same simplicity and pricing model to cruising. But passengers aren't necessarily asking for airline-style pricing with its associated fees and restrictions. The cruise industry's response to criticism has been remarkably consistent across different companies and policy changes. They cite environmental concerns, operational efficiency, and passenger experience improvements. But passengers increasingly see these explanations as corporate speak for cost reduction and profit maximization. A Reddit comment captured widespread passenger sentiment. Cruising in 2026 means higher cruise fares and less value for your money. Another frequent cruiser noted, they're taking away everything that made cruising special and charging us more for the privilege. Looking ahead, these 2026 changes appear to be just the beginning. Industry analysts predict continued fee increases, more service restrictions, and additional regulatory compliance costs that will filter down to passengers. The all-inclusive cruise vacation is evolving into a base fare plus extras model that mirrors the airline industry's approach to revenue generation. The most troubling aspect isn't any single policy change, but the coordinated nature of value reduction across the industry. When one major cruise line under Carnival Corporation or Royal Caribbean Group implements a new fee or restriction, competitors quickly follow suit. This eliminates passenger choice and creates industry-wide standards that consistently favor cruise line profitability over passenger value. For cruise passengers, 2026 represents a fundamental shift in how cruising works. The days of booking a cruise and expecting comprehensive service for one price are ending. Today's cruise passengers must navigate a complex landscape of taxes, fees, restrictions, and documentation requirements that would have been unthinkable just a few years ago. The question isn't whether these changes will continue, they will. The question is whether cruising will remain attractive to passengers as the industry strips away value while increasing costs. Based on the trajectory established in 2026, the cruise vacation you book today will be notably different from the one you actually experience, and the difference will cost you significantly more than you plan to spend.